Today, we're going to dive into the world of X-Men, the animated series. You're going to follow the adventurous tales of heroic mutants led by Professor Xavier to protect humanity from threats. So grab a bag of popcorn and enjoy the show. Let's start with the introduction of some of the main characters. Professor Charles Xavier is a powerful telepath who dreams of a world where mutants and humans can live together peacefully. Wolverine is probably the face of the X-Men franchise. With his retractable claws and adamantium skeleton, he is one of the toughest members of X-Men. Moving on to Jean Grey, she is one of the most powerful telekinetic telepaths out there. She's one of the core members of the X-Men. We cannot forget about Cyclops. He's the team's field leader and can shoot optic blasts from his eyes. Lastly, Storm is a strong and wise presence on the team. She can control the weather, which is pretty cool. These are some of the main characters just to get you started. X-Men the Animated Series is filled with many more amazing characters who portray awesome heroes and villains. All characters have unique abilities and personalities that work together to fight injustice, or to fight justice.
I don't know. Let's just hope the neighbors never find out our beautiful Jubilee's a mutant. Well, they'd never understand.
This animated series occurs in a world where some people develop superpowers known as mutants during puberty. The story starts with a news report showing a mutant named Sabretooth scarring the foster parents of a young mutant named Jubilee. Jubilee is upset because she was once a normal kid and can't control her powers. Her foster parents register her with a private company called the Mutant Control Agency, which sends a robot known as a Sentinel to capture her at a mall. Jubilee is saved by a group of mutants known as the X-Men. Their leader, Charles Xavier, dreams of a world where mutants and humans can live together peacefully. The X-Men include Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Storm, Gambit, Rogue, Morph, and Wolverine. The X-Men find out that the Mutant Control Agency has files on hundreds of mutants, putting them at risk. After the Sentinel takes Jubilee, the X-Men plan a mission to break into the agency's headquarters to destroy the files. The X-Men destroy the files and save Jubilee, but Sentinel attacks them, and Morph is killed. Wolverine is upset at Cyclops for leaving him behind.
Charles Xavier had you break into the Mutant Control Agency?
The X-Men face Magneto, a mutant with metal-controlling powers who wants to destroy humanity to protect mutants. Magneto and Charles Xavier were once friends, but have opposing views on human-mutant relations. Magneto attempts to destroy a military base where Sentinels are produced. The X-Men, led by Professor Xavier, try to stop him to prevent a violent conflict. Magneto escapes, leaving the X-Men to face a new and formidable enemy. Now the X-Men deal with the threat posed by Sabretooth, who is brought to the X-Mansion for rehabilitation. Wolverine is distrustful of Sabretooth due to their shared history. Meanwhile, several bombings occur, and the X-Men suspect a connection to Sabretooth. They discover that another enemy orchestrated the attacks to draw out Wolverine and Sabretooth. The X-Men manage to stop the enemy, but unresolved tensions between Wolverine and Sabretooth remains. Cyclops and Jean Grey are kidnapped by the Morlocks, a group of mutants living underground in New York City. The Morlocks' leader, Callisto, wants to make Cyclops her husband. The X-Men rescue their teammates, and Storm challenges Callisto for leadership of the Morlocks. Storm wins and negotiates a peaceful resolution, freeing Cyclops and Jean and leading the X-Men back to the surface. The episode explores themes of leadership and acceptance. Wolverine leaves the X-Men to live with an Inuit tribe in Alaska, but soon returns home after Sabretooth attacks the village. Wolverine then returns to the X-Men. Moreover, Gambit, Storm, and Jubilee visit a mutant resort called Genosha. There they are attacked by Sentinels and enslaved with control collars. The trio fights against their captors with the help of Cable, a freedom fighter. They discover that Genosha is a stronghold for creating Sentinels, controlled by the towering robot Master Mold. The X-Men destroy Master Mold when it cannot escape the water. When the X-Men return, they find the mansion destroyed and Professor Xavier missing. Initially, they suspect a Russian mutant named Colossus, but it turns out a magical villain named Juggernaut, who is also the Professor's half-brother, was responsible. Jean temporarily erases Juggernaut's memory, and Colossus helps the X-Men rebuild the mansion. The series shifts to days of the future past, set in a dystopian future where Sentinels hunt and exterminate mutants. An elderly Wolverine and a scientist named Forge send a mutant named Bishop back in time to prevent the assassination of Senator Kelly, which they believe created the Dark Future. Bishop informs the X-Men that Gambit is the supposed assassin, and they head to Washington to save the future. but it is Mystique, disguised as Gambit, who tries to kill Kelly on Apocalypse's orders. The X-Men battle Mystique's Brotherhood of Mutants and narrowly save Kelly's life. Rogue lets Mystique go after Mystique reveals she raised Rogue as a child. Despite their efforts, Bishop returns to the future to find it unchanged. In the present, Senator Kelly is kidnapped by Magneto, raising concerns of anti-mutant sentiment sweeping the nation. However, both Magneto and Kelly are taken by Sentinels, as it turns out Master Mold survived and has its plans. Master Mold's bitter irony lies in its human creator's inability to protect humanity from itself. The X-Men save Senator Kelly's life, leading him to change his stance on mutants. Beast is freed and Scott proposes to Jean, but they're being watched. Wolverine is upset about Jean's engagement to Scott's and spends the wedding day fighting Cyclops in the danger room. He tries to express his feelings to Jean, but she leaves. The priest who married Scott and Jean is revealed to be Morph, now under the control of the villain, Mr. Sinister. Sinister, a geneticist obsessed with Scott and Jean's DNA, wants to control the future through their offspring. He captures Cyclops and Jean during their honeymoon and takes them to Sinister's island base. The X-Men work to rescue them, facing challenges such as mind-controlled teammates. This concludes with the team on a mission to save Cyclops and Jean. They eventually confront Sinister and manage to free Cyclops and Jean. Sinister's plans are foiled, and he escapes, but the X-Men return home safely. In the end, Cyclops and Jean renew their commitment to one another. Storm receives a message from her home country of Kenya that her village is in trouble. She decides to return to her village, and she's joined by Rogue and Jubilee. Upon arriving, Storm discovers a new and powerful mutant named Minari, who is posing as a god to the villagers. Storm realizes that Minari is causing severe environmental damage with his powers, and she must stop him. Storm confronts Minari and eventually convinces him to stop using his powers recklessly. She helps the villagers understand that Minari is not a god, but a fellow mutant. This ends with Storm reuniting with her people and making peace with her past. The X-Men travel to Russia to help Colossus find a cure for his sister Illyana, who is ill. While there, they encounter an ancient mutant threat called Omega Red, who has been reawakened. The X-Men and Colossus work together to defeat Omega Red and put him back into stasis. This concludes with Colossus expressing gratitude for the X-Men's help. Wolverine's past catches up with him when he returns to Canada. He encounters his former team, Alpha Flight, who are trying to bring him back to their group against his will. The team tries to capture Wolverine to use his healing abilities for a secret project. Wolverine must confront his past and deal with his former team, while his fellow X-Men come to his aid. In the end, Wolverine chooses to stay with the X-Men, and Alpha Flight leaves without him. The X-Men travel to Louisiana, where they learn about Gambit's past with the Thieves Guild and their feud with the Assassins Guild. The X-Men help Gambit's new family by stopping the assassin schemes. In a future timeline, Cable fights Apocalypse, but a time vortex erases his world. Bishop's actions in the past changed Cable's future and caused a plague that saved mutants with antibodies. Bishop returns to the past to prevent the plague, but Victor Creed, leader of the Friends of Humanity, secretly works for Apocalypse. Bishop and the X-Men fight Apocalypse, but he kills everyone and spreads the plague. Cable relives these events and kidnaps Wolverine to expose him to the virus, using his healing factor to create antibodies to save Cable's future. Rogue's backstory reveals her time with Mystique and her encounter with Miss Marvel, absorbing her powers and memories. Mystique's involvement with Mr. Sinister is also evident. The X-Men are kidnapped to Mojo World, a dimension of violent entertainment, but they escape with the help of Longshot. The former X-Man Iceman breaks into a government facility and is captured by the X-Men. Jubilee helps him rescue his girlfriend Polaris, who has left him for Havoc. The X-Men meet Lady Deathstrike, who was once Wolverine's love, but has since become a cyborg. She finds an alien ship in the Warlock tunnels, and an alien parasite attacks. The X-Men defeat the parasite, and Xavier receives telepathic warnings of a greater threat. The series continues from the previous episode as Wolverine and Jubilee explore the mysterious alien ship under the mansion. They accidentally activate the ship, releasing the Spirit Drinker, a deadly energy being that feeds on life force. The X-Men work together to stop the Spirit Drinker by luring it back into the ship and sealing it away. In the end, the X-Men reflect on the unexpected danger beneath their home. The story continues with an important arc involving Jean Grey and the Phoenix. The X-Men's mission starts when their friend Lilandra's space shuttle crash lands on Earth. The X-Men investigate and encounter the powerful Phoenix Force, which saves them and merges with Jean Grey, granting her extraordinary powers. The X-Men deal with Jean Grey's new powers after she merges with the Phoenix Force. Jean starts to act unpredictably and experiences strange visions. The X-Men worry about Jean's condition and the potential dangers of the Phoenix Force. Meanwhile, a group called the Inner Circle plans to use the Phoenix's power for their purposes. Jean struggles internally with the Phoenix Force, facing visions and memories she can't explain. The X-Men deal with Jean Grey's transformation into the Phoenix. Banshee, a mutant with powerful sound waves, seeks the X-Men's help to stop Black Tom Cassidy and the Juggernaut. The X-Men team up with Banshee to take on Black Tom and Juggernaut. Meanwhile, Lilandra, an alien from the Shi'ar Empire, tries to reach Earth to warn the X-Men about the Phoenix Force. This concludes with the X-Men defeating their enemies and Lilandra arriving on Earth. Eric the Red, working for D'Ken, hires villains to kidnap Lilandra, but the X-Men track her down with Banshee's help. Phoenix saves the X-Men during a battle with the Shi'ar Guard and takes them to space to protect the M'Kraan Crystal. In space, the X-Men meet space pirates called the Starjammers, led by Corsair, who turns out to be Cyclops' secret father. Corsair tries to stop D'Ken, but D'Ken gains control of the crystal. Phoenix fights D'Ken, causing chaos throughout the universe. Jean sacrifices herself by taking the crystal into the sun, and everyone believes she is dead. Lilandra returns to space, leaving Scott sad and angry. He returns to his childhood orphanage, stops a mutant trafficking ring, and finds out Jean is still alive in the sun. In the Savage Land, Khazar's people overthrow Sauron, who is revealed to be a man named Karl Lykos. An ancient evil god named Garok manipulates Karl into becoming Sauron again, but the X-Men defeat Garok and Karl returns to normal. Jean Grey returns from the sun, but the Phoenix Force still possesses her. Jean is kidnapped by the Hellfire Club and brainwashed into becoming the Black Queen. Jean betrays the X-Men, but Wolverine and Scott fight to save her. The Dark Phoenix is released, feeding off Jean's emotions. Jean tries to fight the Phoenix. She ends up flying into space and absorbing the energy of the sun, which attracts the attention of the Shi'ar Empire. They come to Earth to arrest Jean and destroy her, leading to the dramatic conclusion of the Dark Phoenix Saga. The X-Men challenge the Shi'ar Imperial Guard for Jean's life, but the team is defeated when Jean unleashes the Dark Phoenix to save them. Jean has a moment of clarity and sacrifices herself. The Phoenix leaves her body, and the X-Men share a small piece of their life force to bring Jean back. The former X-Man Iceman breaks into a government facility and is captured by the X-Men. Jubilee helps him rescue his girlfriend Polaris, who has left him for Havoc and joined X-Factor. Meanwhile, in Mojo World, a rebellion against Mojo leads Longshot to the X-Men's world. Jubilee develops a crush on him. In the Savage Land, Khazar's people overthrow Sauron, who is revealed to be a man named Karl Lykos. As we move along, Bishop is returning from the future with dire news about a dystopian timeline. In this alternate reality, Professor Xavier has been killed in the past, leading to a world ruled by Sentinels. In this future, Magneto leads a mutant resistance while Storm and Wolverine are married. Bishop's mission is to go back in time to 1959 to save the young Professor Xavier from being assassinated, which would prevent the dark future from occurring. He recruits Storm and Wolverine to accompany him on his mission. However, their initial attempt to save Xavier fails, and they end up in a world ruled by Sentinels. Determined to set things right, Bishop, Storm, and Wolverine attempt their mission again. This time they succeed in saving Professor Xavier, but they face further challenges in trying to restore the proper timeline. The series continues from the previous episodes as Magneto's space base, Asteroid M, becomes a haven for mutants. Magneto aims to create a safe space for mutants away from the dangers and prejudices of Earth. The X-Men, including Professor Xavier, travel to Asteroid M to address the situation and confront Magneto. They are concerned about his plans and the potential threat he poses to humanity. During their visit, they find that not all of the humans on Asteroid M are there of their own free will. Meanwhile, Fabian Cortez, who claims to be loyal to Magneto, is plotting to overthrow him and take control of Asteroid M. Cortez manipulates the situation, trying to weaken Magneto and using the mutant haven for his agenda. The X-Men and their allies, including Bishop and Cable, work together to stop Apocalypse's plan to reset all of existence. Apocalypse's scheme involves using powerful psychics from across time and space to open a portal to the axis of time, allowing him to control all of reality. The X-Men must prevent Apocalypse from executing his plan and save the psychics, who are being held captive. As the battle ensues, Magneto and Mystique turn against Apocalypse, causing a split in his forces and a villainous civil war. The X-Men, with the help of Cable and Bishop, make a final stand to stop Apocalypse's plans and save the world from his control. The X-Men and their allies fight Apocalypse at the axis of time. Cable arrives just as the universe begins to be erased. Bishop manages to free the psychics, reversing the erasure of space and time. Apocalypse's fortress is destroyed, and the psychics work together to erase Apocalypse from existence. Storm and Wolverine go last-minute shopping in Manhattan during the holiday season. While shopping, they find themselves caught up in a life-or-death crisis involving Leech, a young member of the Morlocks. Meanwhile, Leech is very ill, and Storm and Wolverine must work quickly to save his life. They take him back to the X-Mansion, where Wolverine uses his healing ability to help Leech through a blood transfusion. The situation highlights the kindness and generosity of both Storm and Wolverine, even amid their busy holiday plans. With time, Storm's deep connection to the Morlocks and her caring nature is evident, as she remains committed to helping Leech and the Morlock community. Wolverine's gruff exterior contrasts with his willingness to help Leech, showcasing his softer side. Cyclops goes on a solo trip to a small western desert town to visit an old friend. However, his journey takes a dangerous turn when his plane is blasted out of the sky. Injured and unable to use his optic blast powers, Cyclops struggles to make his way into the town. Once in the town, Cyclops discovers that his friend is missing, and the town is controlled by a militant, mutant-only, anti-human hate group known as the Children of the Shadow. This group is led by a mutant named Solar, who uses his heat manipulation powers to maintain control over the town and oppress the human residents. Cyclops is hunted down by the Children of the Shadow but receives help from some of the town's mutants who do not agree with Solar's views. With their assistance and the return of his optic blast powers, Cyclops can fight back against the Children of the Shadow and their leader. Professor Xavier suffers a slight concussion, which leaves his powerful psychic mind vulnerable to manipulation. As a result, Xavier experiences disjointed and intense visions, often mixing memories from his past with present-day events. The episode follows Xavier as he struggles with his altered perception and the memories that resurface. His unstable mental state leads him to recall important moments of his life, including his experiences with the Shadow King and his connection to Moira McTaggart. While the other X-Men work to help Xavier recover and protect him from potential threats, they must also deal with the consequences of his unstable psychic abilities. The episode explores themes of memory, trauma, and the power of the mind. Ultimately, the X-Men manage to support Xavier and help him regain control of his psychic powers. Pietro Maximoff, also known as Quicksilver, and his sister Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, learn from their dying father that they were adopted. This revelation prompts them to search for their true parentage. Magneto, who is on a quest to find his estranged wife Magda, may hold a clue to the Maximoff twins' past. As Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch seek answers, they encounter Magneto, who reveals that he is their biological father. The episode explores the complicated relationship between Magneto and his children, as well as the twins' struggles with the new revelation about their lineage. As the episode progresses, the twins grapple with the implications of their connection to Magneto and how it may affect their lives and loyalties. The end of the series begins with the X-Men fighting off an alien invasion from Phalanx, a technologically advanced empire that assimilates other worlds. Warlock, the prince of the Phalanx, rebels against his people's violent ways and flees to Earth after his betrothed. His queen is captured by Cameron Hodge, a government agent, and their combined minds start assimilating the world. Most of the team is assimilated, leaving Beast to team up with Forge from X Factor. Warlock and Mr. Sinister recruit a depressed Magneto, who agrees to help them only to save his son Quicksilver. They free the X-Men and X Factor and introduce a computer virus to the Phalanx, allowing Warlock to return to his homeworld and attempt to change his people's warmongering ways. Omega Red, a dangerous mutant from the former Soviet Union and a sworn enemy of Wolverine, is thwarted and sent on a mission to salvage a toxic nuclear submarine that has been disabled and is threatening to break up near Hawaii. The episode begins with the X-Men learning about Omega Red's re-emergence and the threat he poses. Omega Red is a powerful mutant with deadly abilities, and his release from stasis is a cause for concern, especially for Wolverine given their history as enemies. Omega Red's mission takes him 2 miles beneath the ocean to the site of the disabled submarine. His task is to salvage the submarine and prevent an environmental disaster from the toxic materials on board. However, his motivations and allegiances are questionable, and the X-Men must confront him to stop him from causing further harm. Wolverine and the other X-Men work together to face Omega Red and prevent him from succeeding in his mission. The battle takes place underwater, adding an extra layer of difficulty to the X-Men's efforts. Despite the challenges, the X-Men manage to stop Omega Red and save the submarine from causing a larger environmental disaster. Jubilee tells fairy tales inspired by the X-Men to a group of sick children in a hospital. She reimagines the X-Men as classic fairy tale characters, such as Wolverine as a knight and Storm as a sorceress. Jubilee stories delight the children and offer a fun, lighthearted take on the X-Men's adventures. By the end, Jubilee storytelling brings joy to the kids and highlights the X-Men's positive impact on the world.
I am proud of you all, X-Men.
As we conclude today's video, Xavier is addressing the UN when Henry Peter Gyrick attacks him with a device that amplifies his powers, outing him as a mutant. This sparks outrage and mutant uprisings around the world. The X-Men cannot help the dying Xavier, and they know the Shi'ar aliens could treat him. But without Xavier's telepathy, they cannot contact Lilandra. Magneto, who has taken control of Genosha, sees an opportunity to intervene. Morph poses as Xavier to calm the public, while the other X-Men travel to Genosha to ask Magneto not to start a mutant uprising. They realize Magneto's magnetic powers can amplify Xavier's brainwaves, allowing them to summon Lilandra from space. Magneto must give up his dream to save his best friend's life. Magneto agrees, and Xavier regains consciousness just long enough to share heartfelt parting words with his students. He praises Rogue and the others, expressing his pride in them. Xavier's final words are touching. "Proud of you all, my X-Men." Lilandra arrives and takes Xavier to space, possibly forever, while Magneto and the X-Men watch them fly away. And that's the end of the series. That will be it for today's video. Let us know in the comments below about your favorite character from the X-Men animated series. For more videos, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up if you liked today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.